I didn't unmute. Howdy folks, Kevin here, coming at you today with some WebDriver IO test examples. And what I mean by that is, let's jump over and show you some things. I am working on my book and trying to finish it out. And in order to do so, I need to build out examples. Hiya, Victor. Thanks for saying hi in chat. Always appreciated. So last time, if you watched, I got to finish 2.8 and in it we wrote some code. I wrote some code and went through some stuff. I'm going to keep doing that in the most official words of doing some stuff. What I am testing, in case you missed it, let me bring over a browser. There we go. Boop. Nope. Boop. 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 It's not working. My hotkey's not working. I might be pressing the wrong key. So we want demo. And then book. Let me see if this link works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it takes forever to load. This time it worked. So yeah, this is the web app testing guidebook, and I am currently working on finishing up. If you see, it is 95% complete. I need to get it to the 100% mark because I am ready to move on to another project. And so I want to finish this up. Anyway, on these chapters, I've got examples, and the last one I was going to do was create a set of tests for the user profile page. The user profile page looks like this is the demo site that we use. If we click on a user, which is a single article user here, that matches there. This is the user profile page. So we have these steps, user, basically things we want to validate. And so how are we going to go about doing that? And why in the world did that just go to full screen? I have no idea. I feel like it has something to do with me doing this live stream. My computer is just not quite powered up enough to handle it, so it's a bit slow and wonky. Okay, let's open up the code for that. So give me just a second while I get that set up. So that's where I keep the book. Now I'm going to go into the WDI book examples repo, Sublime text to the parent, and now I've got my all my folders here with all my tests, and we've got our specs. And let's see, we've got an editor page, a home page, login, navigation, register, tag. None of these really work too well for me. Tag might be the best. So I'm just going to copy over from tag, create a new file, and we are going to call that profile.js. And profile page, user profile page. Get rid of that. And oh yeah, I do like that tag. I don't need any article details. That's fine. In this test, one thing that we do in the tag test, one thing we do is we create a new article using our API. We generate some random data, assign that random data to the user and create that article. And then we can load the tag for that article, which the tag is a randomly generated string. And then now we can go to that page. We could do something very similar for our profile. So instead of, if I jump over here, instead of having a single article user, which this could be trouble if somebody else is using this single article user test account and they create something else, well then your list of articles is going to be messed up because it's not right, and then your favorite articles might be messed up as well. And so it could just create some flaky tests. So what we can do is, back here, we are going to create the profile. We need our test. So we're gonna have to create a new user, create the user/profile. And to do that, we're actually gonna have to take a couple steps. We're gonna want to, hold on while I get distracted. Profile username. Actually, that'd just be, let's just call it username. Profile page, and then that. Yeah, definitely getting distracted here, but I'm thinking about it, so I'm gonna go with it. I don't need users. That's fine. Okay. Profile. And what we're going to want to pass into it is a profile plus some other things. So let's look at this profile that we want to use. So if I go over to, I need to actually log out. So I'm going to log out and I go sign up. So this is going to be my test profile. And this is a live site. And creating the profile, you could actually go to the site and see it. The thing is, I have it set up so where it deletes all the data, resets all the data overnight. So we don't have to worry about making too much of a mess here. So test profile, we'll do test at learnwebdriverio.com, which, yes, I am very cognizant that this needs to be updated, the course itself. And the password will be demo wdio. Told you my password. Okay. Oh, I missed a very important step there. I wanted to see, shoot. Let me move that. I wanted to see the request that gets sent, because that's going to be important for me for that request, is to know what the details are in there. So I'm really kind of bummed. I guess I'll just create a, all right, I'm going to log out. I'm going to create a new one. Let's try this again. Test profile 2. It doesn't really matter. And then test 2 at, and it doesn't matter here because I'm gonna not use this profile at all in my test. I just want to see the request that comes. So I'm gonna, so I've got Chrome Developer Tools. You can always go to Inspect, and that'll bring up the Elements pane. You can go to Network in Chrome, and now clear any requests that are on there. And now when I hit Sign Up, you're going to see it makes a request to a post request to this endpoint. And that's what I'm going to copy over. Got a question from Victor. Kevin, I'm seeing you have added a require chai. Would you recommend have it in the WDIO config file? Yes, that is a great question. And so the question is specifically related to this line. Let's make the font a little bit larger. Here I load expect, and what you can do is in your config file, let's see, you can do it in a couple places, but see how I have this global chance and this global API? I could actually do global, if I type it correctly, global.expect is equal to require chai expect. And then here, I no longer need to do that. And so when I run this expect, it looks on this global object and finds it. And that way I don't have to add the expect to every one of my files. I like this because I don't have to add this expect line to every one of my files. I don't like it because it abstracts out some of the code to having to go into your configuration file. You have to know that this line, that this lives on line 192 in your configuration file. So somebody coming in who isn't familiar with how WebDriver IO can be set up, they'll see expect and they'll go, where is expect coming from? I don't understand what that is. Is this the chai expect library? Is it jest? What's going on here? Is this another like custom expect library? Where am I going to find this? And they wouldn't have any real clue to look in the configuration file. So I'm kind of back and forth on this because, yeah, on the one hand, it does make it simpler to not have to load expect on every single file. Personally, I lean towards keeping it in the file itself because it's just a little bit simpler and a little bit clearer compared to the small cost of having to require it in all your files. And normally when I make a new test file, I copy everything over, create a new test, and then go from there. So there's no difference to me between having this here and not having it there. So to answer your question, would I recommend it? Personally, no. I've done it before. It's not the worst thing in the world, but at this point, no, I wouldn't recommend it. So I hope that is a balanced answer. And also, I'm sorry if I have dirt on my face. I was out in the garden right before this, and I have very dirty hands. I love being out in the garden, and I love getting my hands dirty with dirt. It makes me happy. So if I'm scratching my face and stuff because I can't help it. And so if I have a little bit of dirt all over, sorry. I don't know if I'm going to keep this profile, but we'll see. And then over in here, again, I'm jumping over in my thought pattern. I hope you're able to follow because I'm a little bit scatterbrained. Profile, we'll go with that. And where were we? We were talking about the API. That's what we were talking about in this response. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, just add a comment here. I need to go into this API, which is under utils. Nope, not under utils. It's under these utils. Two different utils. Why are there two different utils? I guess one for test and one for general. That would make sense. I have a create article. Let's make a new one called create profile. And we'll call that profile. I don't need a token. There is a token here. I don't think I need a token. I don't know why I would need a token. I don't know where that token comes from. Okay, let's try it without the token. This is going to be the JSON. So actually, I don't need to do that. I can do profile. And that's going to come from here and get loaded there. And I'm creating this variable, or this variable up here so that I can reference it later on, and especially in my test itself when I get to it. I don't want the user part. I just want, I do need to remember that. Password, username. Okay, that's pretty good. I want to replace this with a random test user, and I'm going to do that. Let's jump back. First, replace these, and then I'm actually going to replace that with there. I'll just keep the same password. That doesn't matter. I do need to create a random username as well. Test plus, and I will use string interpolation to do date.now. This is a pretty common thing that I do, is use date.now to create a not necessarily random string, but a brand new string. So now the email address is going to be test plus a numeric number that's always one above the next one that's created, or at least one above the next one that's created. and then my email address. And let me jump in and see my users. learnwebdriver.io.com, learnwebdriver. Okay. So it's following that same pattern. Password's going to be the same, and I need my test profile to be unique. I can just use chance here. Let's create some fun words, and that's just going to be a 15-character username. Okay. So that's my payload that comes in. Good, good, good. Now I need to jump back over to my API, and let's split the screen. And I'll close that out. Make it a little bit easier to read. Profile. So now my JSON is going to be users, right? Or no, sorry, user. And then profile. And I don't need that token, I don't think. And I'm going to post to, what was the endpoint? The endpoint was users. Users. And it's a post. And I don't know what the response comes back with. So let's open up Postman. And then I'm waiting for Postman to open. Okay, got Postman open. I want to do users. I want to do a post to users with, I'm going to skip the auth. My body is going to be this. Oops. Copy that. Pop back over here. And I'll change that to 3 and change that to 4. Sure. I meant to type 3, but whatever. Oh, and it's not localhost because I don't have my localhost running. So I'm going to jump into here, grab that URL, and use it and hit send. And there we go. I got my response back. Which looks exactly the same as my request. Let's see. Yeah, that response. Oh, it does have a token. Yeah, it does have a token. That token's going to be helpful for the next part, I believe. And the name is user. So with that, I'm going to, instead of returning the article, which I did in this article one, I'm going to return the user. So create a profile. Okay, that should work. I'll hit save. I can get rid of this comment. Skip that. Skip that. I actually don't know. I'll just do a basic console log and I can just delete those tests. Basically, I just want to run this and make sure that my profile response, make sure that my API test runs. Okay, so now I'm here. I want to do npx wdio, and I'm going to set the spec to just be profile. So that should just test the profile that we just wrote. Hope your Saturday is going well, if it is still Saturday. Well, that makes sense. That error makes a lot of sense. Can't find the module profile page because, honestly, I haven't created it yet. So I'm just going to comment that out. Because I shouldn't need it yet. No, I don't. There we go. And here's that response back, username, Pemvabatuanwuflo. Cool username. I get it. With the email, see how it created that random date. So now I have a random email, so I don't have any email conflicts. And then the token that I can use next. So the next thing I want to do, if I go back to here and I click on this user, see how that string, that URL is formatted? If I paste in this new user, now I get that user. I would like there to be at least one. So I could have a randomly created article here that I use through the API. I kind of already have that code. If I go to tag, I already have this code to create a article for that user. Let's do that. Okay, so create the user profile, create a new article for the new user. And I will store that up here, and I will use the right punctuation. I'm not going to worry about a tag, doesn't matter. And in article, I have a user. Where does that come? Oh, it's the get auth token. I mean, I already have the auth token. I kind of wish I could just pass that in, but I'm going to not do that for now. What does my user look like? It's just going to be a username. Let's get auth token. It takes an email and a password. Does my response back from username, email? It does not have the password. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to just manually pass it. And let's do profile.email. Ooh, I messed that up. Profile.password. Actually, I can just pass in the profile because it already has the email and password. And you know what I can also get rid of are these extra quotes, not needed. So it has the email, it has a password, it does have the username, but when create article gets called, it takes profile, it calls the create article, gets the user, passes that user to get auth token. Get auth token just pulls the email and password from whatever object gets passed in. So it basically ignores the username. So we really don't need to worry about it. So it's just going to get the email and password from there. And now we're going to have a random article. Now, I don't know if I can delete. One thing I don't like doing is creating too many users. Although in this case, it's not really going to be an issue. Well, we are going to have a lot of articles that get created if we're doing this article creation method. So I'm not too concerned about creating too many users, but creating a lot of articles wouldn't be great. So now I want to delete a user. How do I delete edit profile settings? I don't see a way to delete a user through here, but let's see. There is a way to delete articles. So if I create a new article, bloop, bloop, bloop. So this is my new article, and I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to hit delete article, and this is a delete method, API articles, the name or the slug of the article, and that's it with the token. So in theory, I can delete the users by their username, and I do need my auth token, which will be this giant string. Cool. And what if I hit send? Not found. There might be... React. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to go into this backend, and I want to see if there's an endpoint for, let's see, routes, API, profiles. So there's one to get the user information. There's one to follow a user. Oh, there is a delete method. Oh, that's to stop following somebody. That doesn't make sense. Users. That's what I was really... Okay, so get the user, put the user. That's to update the user information. This is to log in. This is to create a new user. And there's nothing in here about deleting a user. So we can't delete the user with this demo code, but we can delete the article. So like I said, less concerned about deleting the user, more concerned about deleting the article that we create. That's fine. So I'm gonna uncomment that after and change that back to delete article. That way, after our test is done, we delete the article that we created because we don't need it. That's going to be the profile and the article response. So under delete article, we get the user, get the auth token again, get the slug to delete it, all that kind of stuff. Cool. And paste that over. That's what, 30, that's fine. I'm gonna delete that. Cool. So now if I run this, let us debug so I can show you how it works. Oops. Run that. And I'm gonna have to do this kind of quick because my timeout isn't, I don't think my timeout's set super high. So it hasn't loaded anything. I haven't asked it to load anything, but if I come back to here and I go to the Conduit homepage, you'll see a new article should pop up. Yes, we have our new article from our random user. And then if I type exit to break out of that debug statement, so it was paused on this debug statement, I exited out of it, test closed, and now if I refresh the page, this article should disappear, and it's gone, just like that. So that's how you create and delete data using the API, and this is one of the things that I talk a lot about in the book. Well, maybe not a lot about in the book, but I cover it. I definitely cover it. I'll give myself credit that I cover it. Creating, so the profile still exists, but the article does not. So now I'm going to have a profile available with an article that's created. And the question on here is, if I go, so I'll have this on here. Will I want to have a favorited article? And there are two states to test on this page, that if there aren't any articles favorited, that it should say no articles here. And if there are articles tested, it should have, or sorry, if there are articles favorited, it should have the article on there that's been favorited. I spilled tea on myself. Oh boy. Ideally, we have tests for both. And I basically create another user. Well, yeah, so ideally I create a set of tests that have an article on the page and a set of tests that don't have an article on the page. As an example, username is shown at the top of the page. You can follow, unfollow the user. That's trickier. 2 tabs are shown, my articles and favorited articles. The content for those tabs is correct. Create a set of tab for the user. These tests should be responsible for creating a unique profile with a it's up to you whether to I'm also going to take that out of the requirements because, well, maybe not. I'll leave that in there for now. I'm always thinking these things like, how much effort is it to write out the test for this versus how eager am I to finish these examples and be done with this? Because this is my last example to do. So that's what's going through my mind during this time. There we go. And I'm going to come back over here, scroll down, and paste that because that's updated now. Okay. Let's move on to writing the page object for this, which is complicated. Home page. I think I'm just going to copy this over. And actually, I should do tag. So last stream, I mentioned how tag extends home, and I reused home in order to create tags that's like super easy. I could have done the same here because the profile page is actually pretty similar to the home page. These are different names. The tags are there. That's different. So it's a question of, do I want to duplicate code between these 2 page objects? Or do I want to have this weird relationship between them that doesn't necessarily exist in the real world? Username. Whoops. And that is just @ plus the username. Okay. Feeds container to inspect. I wonder. I don't have that data QA ID. So I might need to update that. And I definitely don't have popular tags anymore. Current feed, click tab. Now here's some duplicate code. The click tab is definitely going to be the same between them. And oh, that bothers me. I really would like to have it not be that way. But oh, I just don't know. I don't know on an example how much I want to whoops, sorry. How much I want to leave up to the user to have to decipher my code and the decisions that I made. So that's kind of what I'm questioning here. But I definitely need the click tab because Yeah. Maybe I could move this into... I have a utils function. Alternatively, I could create a tabs component. Kind of like that idea. And here I pass in the selector. Let me pop that over. And then my tabs. Alternatively, that could be feeds. Let me see. Let me think. Feeds. My articles, like a feeds container. So tabs versus feeds. Let's go with feeds. Here's what I'm going to do. Feeds. So I'm actually going to pull that out. This is definitely one of the more complex examples that I'm going to get into. And I can move this over. Oops. Get feeds. One thing that'd be super nice about this style is if basically I could extend two different... It's the idea of class composition versus class inheritance. And in here, so inheritance is here. I have a generic page and I'm extending it. So the profile page inherits all this stuff from the generic page. The problem with that is I can't extend multiple pages. So I'm kind of stuck with just this generic page. If I wanted to share this functionality between the home page and the generic and the profile page, I'd have to create another page in between. But that's kind of weird, in my opinion, because while they both have this feeds, that feed and this feed, the feed is just a part of the page. It's not necessarily a specific definitive item on the page. Yeah, don't know a better way to explain that. So what would be nicer, and so what I can do here is I can create a new feeds object that returns a new feeds page object and kind of builds from that. That's cool, but in my test, you see I have tag page.active feed tab text. This is going to have to be changed to tag page.feeds.active feed tab text, which isn't terrible, but I have to do that here. And so now I'm getting this long chain of items that kind of go down and down and down. What would be neat is if I could keep this shorter chain, but still have feeds kind of be pulled off into the side. So there are ways to do that using some specific functions. You can kind of extend it, but it's more complicated than I like. And yeah, it just takes a little bit too much for this example. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. is go with this, new feeds. So profile, that, feeds, load, super load. We also need a get, where'd you go? On the profile page, there is a follow button. What happens when I click follow? Okay. Just checking this class name to see if it changes. It does a little bit. It's still called action button. I really need a QA ID on this. I need to not be lazy and add that on there. So follow toggle, turn $. And I'll basically do the same here, and it's going to be called follow toggle. I need to jump over to the Vue.js code and add that QA ID in there, which I really didn't want to do, but okay. Follow single user. Oh, let's see if I want to. I need to find the file. Okay, so it's in profile.vue. Uh-oh. What is loading up? Oh, man. I didn't want that. Slime text. Profile.vue. Hurry up and open. Okay. Okay. Now, this is that button. You see it's actually in 3 places, so it's not great. I'm gonna have to add this data QA ID in 3 places. You know, that's having to repeat code that's basically the exact same thing is not great, but I'm not gonna judge too much. The other thing I'm going to do in here, data QI profile. I could add a bio, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then up here, I want to add those QA IDs that I had for my feed. Articles toggle. I'm gonna jump back. What's that container? Nav pills, outline active. Nav pills, okay. Data QA ID would be profile tab, sure. And then in there, I have a class of nav item, but over here, I have a specific QA type. And QA type is different from QA ID. And the reason for that is QA type I use multiple times for multiple elements. And QA ID I stick to a single element. So it's kind of like the difference between IDs and classes in CSS, if you're familiar with that. Active class active, active class active. Okay, exact. Okay. Is that on the LI? It is on the LI. Good. Okay, so that's there. I kind of need to publish this before I run my test because it's going to rely on that. But you know what I can do? I can show you something that's cool with WebDriver IO and being in this situation. And I will get to that in just a minute. So I've been faced with this issue in the past, which is essentially I am ready for this custom attribute to be put in place, but it hasn't been deployed to a site. So I want to have the code updated so that when it does get deployed, it's ready to use. But I also want to run my test before the code is updated. So how do I do that? Well, what I can do is just, so here on this follow button, I can use two selectors. So I'll just add a comma and we will do this other selector, which honestly, let's just do that. And I'm going to double check that there's no other action buttons on the page. Nope, just that one. So now it either uses this selector or it uses this selector. So either one that matches. And when this gets updated, I can just go in and delete that. And now I'm left with the selector that I really like. So neat little trick that I really like to use. And then from my feeds, I'm going to kind of do the same thing. Articles toggle. I'm going to use a descendant selector here of nav pills, and that's a class. So this selector, not that great. I don't like it. This selector is a lot better. I'm going to have this selector in here for now so that I can do my testing, and then when it comes time to it, I will switch over or delete it and have just this feed tabs. Perfect. Okay, save that. This is going to be profile.page.js. I don't need to worry about that. This is going to be my feed, which is a component. So let's pull up on here, page objects, tag. Nope, that's not right. Components, feed. I am going to want a component here. And then I'll copy this over. And copy that over. Probably don't need this profile view anymore, but whatever. So here, class feeds extends a component. I've got my feeds container. That's empty right now. I would like to pass in my feeds container selector. Kind of like I'm doing here. So new feeds passes in the feed selector. So jump back over here. That doesn't have it. Close out of that. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Constructor. Actually, let's open up component. Oh, so if I pass in the selector, the first option is going to be the selector. So then I can just do this dot selector. Where does this dot selector come from? That's going to be part of the constructor. So feeds extends component. Component takes a selector and options, and the first argument into this component is going to be assigned to the selector. And so when I create a new feeds and I pass in a single string, that's going to go to this selector. And then in my feeds, I can reference that selector right there. And it's pretty darn neat. I'm going to have to assume that. So this isn't going to entirely work for now because these aren't out there yet. Also, I don't have a article list. So I do need. Do I? I don't know if I do. Let me see. Does this have? It does. It does have the QA type of article list. Wunderbar. Sehr gut. Okay. Now I'm going to save this under my test, page objects, components. I'm going to call it feeds. Great. Now I've got the feeds that gets loaded in there. My follow toggle. Cool. Then I jump back over to my profile test. And I'm going to create a new profile with my username. And I'm going to wait for that page to load. And let's see how this test runs. Oops, not in the right directory. Profile is not defined. Oh, because I commented out way back when because it was throwing an error. You know, this is a weird feeling that I get when I do these live streams, and it's similar to the feeling that I get when I do presentations. And I don't know if it has to do with me talking for so long and it kind of wears out that part of my brain, but it's a certain type of fatigue I get that is I don't know, it's very interesting, this type of fatigue. Okay, cannot find module component tabs. That kind of makes sense. So feeds, oh, because I had named it tabs, and then yeah. So two things that would make this fail a lot faster is if I used lint. I believe it would check the require paths. Basically, my require path was wrong, and it's still wrong here. Alternatively, TypeScript would also check this, and so that's one nice thing about TypeScript. The path to this is wrong because it needs to be, I'm inside the components folder. I need to go up to page objects, and that should be enough. Basically, I was one in. So TypeScript, that's an entire video I want to do, is should you use TypeScript for testing? And the answer is a resounding yes, no, maybe, kind of. It's a good idea, but you might not want to. But you see, I keep having these failures, and they take 7 seconds to run. If I had TypeScript, it would catch it in 2 seconds. So that's 5 full seconds. And they all have to do with the fact that I'm not paying attention to my requires. And that's better. Failed as soon as I said, and that's better. What is the problem now? Profile page. Home. What? What do you mean home is not defined? Where am I using home? Oh. That is yet another thing that TypeScript would have caught. And I messed up that. Messed up that. I did a video recently, and it's going to be out soon, called, and I said, I'm not going to say what it's called. You'll figure it out. I said main instead of name. Just amateur. Username is not defined. Speaking of amateur, this code is amateur. What? Oh, it needs to be profile.username. Profile.username. TypeScript would have caught that too, and it would have saved me 6 seconds. That's why TypeScript is nice. But what you're not seeing with this is how much extra work TypeScript takes to get set up. Hey, look, we're going to a page. That's good. And we have an article. That's good. Excellent. Okay. And now if I go back to my home page, bam, it's not there. The article's gone. The user is still there because we can't delete the user, but the article's gone. Great. That is good. I would like to move this. Okay. Basically move all that over. I'm gonna keep that. So I did all this work to abstract out these common element references and stuff, and the click tab. And so now I need to update it where I was using it before. Tags.js. Oh man, uh-oh. Feeds. Okay, so that's that. And then home. I'm about to start singing some Tom Petty because he's on my headphones. Tom Petty is one of, if not my favorite artists. Okay, that should be enough. I'm gonna run home, get that running. Quit out of that. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time to finish all of this. So this is running the home page. Logged in, logged out. Home.clicktab. There we go. Didn't get all the references. Home.feeds.clicktab. Oh, man. Run that again. And then I need to run this for the tags page as well. So the current song I'm listening to is Tom Petty's Insiders. Insider. Great song. And I have a shirt that on the top of it says Outsider, and every time I wear it I sing this song, but I do it for Outsider instead of Insider because I'm an outsider. The idea of outsider is that I like spending time outside. It's for a local nature center. Yeah, but I sing the song because it's still the same idea. Well, it's not the same idea at all. It's just very similar words. Okay, tag feed and home now work. So I've updated that. Whew. Let's go to my example. This is going to be a lot. Update your home and tag test to reference to use this new title equals tag.js. Those should have semicolons. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I thinking? I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking. I'm gonna have to update those other places as well. I need to do the same thing for the home. Jump back over here, copy that over, paste it. Those are missing it too. Come on. I need to get Prettier installed. Although Prettier, I don't think uses semicolons, which I am not a big fan of not using semicolons. I know it's extra, and I've switched back and forth between the two, between using semicolons and not using semicolons. And honestly, it's such a simple thing to do to use semicolons and can avoid you just a tiny amount of trouble. It just seems worth it to me. Okay, so we've done that. Let's see. Create a new profile page object. Just why is that there? That doesn't need to be there. You can see the profile page. Oof, that is worrying me because it's not a lot of explanation there about what my thinking is going on. So I think what I might do is really formalize this video and link to it in the book. I definitely am going to do that when I update the course. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do that now. Maybe I'll just link to this live stream. I'll probably do that. So if you're reading this from the book in the future, hi, I linked to you from this example. Whoops, why'd you do that? That's weird. Hi, Narek. Hopefully I pronounced that right, or it's Narik. Thanks. Glad you enjoyed the book, and still working on it. So hopefully I'll be there soon. Why in the world are you graying that out? It's so weird. Oh, okay. Weird. Page object profile page. I've got this feeds, and I'm gonna get rid of that because by the time that I actually have this out, probably right after this, I'm going to make this happen or push up those QAID changes. I just don't want to do it on a live stream. See, the profile page uses a new feeds component, which has shared feeds functionality between it and the home tags page. Since we're using a new shared component, remove I haven't even written a test. Reusability takes forever. Why did I do that? That was dumb. Okay. With all that written, let's focus back on writing the actual tests and using proper spelling. In our profile test, we need to set up some data. user profile to validate. That user should have an article published. Add the following function to the API util allowing title equals util/api.js. I just learned about that little title thing, and when it publishes the book, it's actually going to have this title in there. And I very much wish I knew about this at the very beginning when I started writing it, because now I need to go back and for all my code examples, basically do that. Okay, I got a couple questions. I have a question about selectors to use in UI tests. What strategy is best to use when you want to not have to change selectors? For example, front end changes its framework from Angular to React. This is something I actually talk about in the book, and it's essentially using these data QA IDs and data QA type. So here's a custom attribute called data QA ID, and if I show you, boop, beep, here data QA ID, and inside of there I have a data QA type. And the benefit of this is that it's only for testing. It's only for QA. It's not a class that has any sort of meaning as far as the design goes. It's not an ID, which is liable to be taken over by JavaScript functionality. It's purely for QA. I've seen this as a data test ID because you're using it for testing. I don't like that because the word test could imply that it's just something that's there for testing purposes, as in I'm testing whether this attribute does anything or not, or I'm testing a new piece of code, and not necessarily for QA testing, more for just testing something out. So I like QA. It's short. You could also do quality assurance. I don't like that because it's super long. You could do testing ID. That's not terrible. I just go with QA. Yeah, that's what I do. So that's really nice to use because when you make the updates from React to Angular or Angular to React, which is more likely, the developers can copy this over. So if the entire framework changes and all the classes and IDs change, they should be able to, like, if the page stays the same as far as the functionality goes, the UI goes, they should be able to just copy these IDs back over between the two. So that's basically my strategy. Next question: will this run on my Commodore 64? No, no. But I do know something that will run on your Commodore 64. It is a game. 64 bar game. What's the name of the bar game? Tapper. Tapper will run on your... Oh, Jesus. Hide that. Oh, I guess me covering that doesn't work. Yeah, this will definitely run on your Commodore 64, buddy. I remember this probably from 1989 when I was young. Good game. You should play it. You probably have played it. Sponsored. Don't play this game. It's not good for you. Tapper. Tapper runs. Can you unit test Tapper? Sure. Am I going to? No. Sorry. What was I doing? I need to finish up. All that written. Let's focus back on writing the actual test and So I showed how to create that user profile. Cool. Okay. Now we'll create a new profile.js test file and call the needed API utils to I got this under control. Whoops. I should have okay, what are my requirements? Come back here. What am I doing? Should show username at top of the page. So I'm gonna write this test and then I will be done. Okay, let's do that. Copy that, save. Scroll down, down. Now can you provide? So in here, I'm just going to add the specific tests themselves. I'm not going to post that or paste that full file. The test will be expect profile page dot get plink plunk. I did add the QA data ID to this H4. So what I'm going to do, where did I add that? I added that to the profile view. Is data QA profile username. Get $username return $. There. Nope, not there yet. There we go. Nope, boop, bop. Cool. Got it. First time. Save it. And then I'm gonna actually add that to this page object that I mentioned. Not there. There. Got it. Boom. Shabam. I hope you like my sound effects. You can tell I'm kind of losing my mind. Expect username dot get text. Oh, you know one thing we can do. In WebDriver IO version 6, oh my god, my coworkers are so noisy. In WebDriver IO version 6, they have updated this expect functionality to add custom matchers. So I could do to have text of profile.username. like that. And that's super cool. I need to update the book to reference that. For now, I've been using chai assertions, so it would have to be .get, but I just need to update it. And the other thing I need to do is update this selector to basically account for the fact that I haven't updated to add that QA ID on there yet, which I will do soon. Now I'm going to run this profile.js, and I'm going to hope that this works. I'm going to cross my fingers, see how they're crossed. Yeah, they're crossed. And oh, I stopped crossing them. It's not going to work. Prove me wrong, world. Oh, turns out crossing your fingers isn't all that effective when running tests. What do you know? It showed it. Cool. Yep, there it is. Should show username at the top of the page. Now I need to do the follow, unfollow user. I need to do the 2 tabs that are shown with the content of the tabs being correct, and whether I want to favorite the article. I'm probably not going to favorite the article. I'm not going to go through that. To favorite, to have a favorited article. There. Move that over. So I will come back another time and do that. I wish that I was working on this tomorrow, but I'm not. It's my day off. One of my days off. So maybe next week. And maybe I can get that book from this pesky 95% complete to being 100% complete. Also, shout out to Mr. Michael Gilbert in chat. He has been editing this book and making sure that all my grammar is good and making it gooder. Really appreciate it. So shout out to him. Good work. Keep it up. Well, you don't have to keep it up because you've kind of finished it. So I need to get those edits incorporated. But when you're reading through it and you are like, hey, I know that Kevin doesn't write this gooder, you have him to thank. So yes, there, that is going to be the end of this stream. I've got the start of my profile tests in place. I need to write these following ones, but I did a lot of work. Got these APIs in, and this is definitely the most complex of examples in the book, which is good. It's the end of the book, and I want to really get that nailed down. I'm missing a semicolon. I'm missing another semicolon. Ah, man, those are the hardest ones because they just kind of, yeah. Anyway. My book is too cheap. Well, thank you for saying that. You can, when you come over to it, you can crank that up to 40. Huh? I was hoping that would go up to like 400. I'd really appreciate that. No, you can crank it up if you want. But I'd rather have it too cheap than too expensive, to be honest. I could probably update it to maybe have $25 with a minimum of 15. This kind of variation in how you change it, I like it because, if you only want to pay 15, that's fair. But if you want to, and it's much appreciated. Yeah, I think with books, I'm not really into making a lot of money off of this book. The main reason that I'm doing this book is so that when I go to create the course, I have all of the content already laid out and ready to go. And so I need to update this book to be version 6. And I also just mentioned earlier that under the assertions, I need to include, I need to update that to use the expect WebDriver IO library. And that's going to be a lot easier to update in a book format than it is going to be update. And it's still going to be a lot of work, but it's still going to be easier than updating videos, because in videos you have to re-record all of the videos to do that versus just updating examples in text. So that's the main reason why I wrote the book. You suggest $29.99. I've actually, at least one person has, marked that up to $29.99, and I very much appreciate it. I might do 25. I'll think about it. I appreciate the feedback though, and that's a really kind thing to say. It makes me feel good about the work that I'm doing here, that you would say such a kind thing. So I really appreciate it, and I will take it very much into consideration. On that very happy note, I'm going to go ahead and call this an end to the stream, and I'll probably be back next week to finish out this profile page. We got to test this. It's not going to be too difficult, I don't think, because I'm just going to copy over the test from the homepage, and I would really do that right now if it weren't already so late. I need to go make supper for me and also for me kiddos. So anyway, thanks for joining, and until next time, have fun testing.